Hi guys, Dorothy here. We're here today with our third DIY of the week, and we are going to make homemade texture paste. I've been promising it, so everybody can see it. Let me reach up here. You can make texture paste in different colors. I have white, brown, which goes really, I'll talk about coloring in a minute when we get with it. And then I have a green. I am going to pause the video real fast and grab a few items that we'll need, and I'll be back with you. We're going to need our gesso and our Modge Podge, and we're going to need our cornstarch and some kind of coloring, so I'll be right back. Hey guys, we are back. We're ready. I'm actually going to make mine, add a little color to mine, and I will show you a few things in just a tad bit. So first off, we are going to need 1/2 cup gesso. So we're going to grab our gesso, reach back here and grab my gesso. We're going to need 1/2 cup. And again, I'm going to use my 1/8 cup because that's just where I sort of like to be. Which makes, your work a lot. If you want to use 1/2 cup, you can. I sort of like using smaller amounts because I can control the consistency a little better by using a smaller amount. So I've just learned all the time, especially when you're creating recipes, working on things like that, then it sort of helps to control your amount. And this is our final. And again, like I told you before, if you're making this just at home, it's a lot easier to make this stuff because you don't have near as much money in it. Like this will have our gesso in it, and our gesso we figured out $1.32 at the time I'm doing this, although prices vary, so $1.32 to make our gesso, and we're not even touching the amount in the jar, so this is actually a double batch. So we probably used 1/2 batch maybe. So even if we use 1/2 batch, you're talking, I think we actually figured out, because I went back and the cornstarch was cheaper in the earlier video because I have a extremely bad head cold, and of course bumbled like crazy on the video trying to figure out the math and ended up deciding it was 40 cents cheaper. So we actually paid 88 cents a batch to make our gesso, and of course our Modge Podge we only had 66 cents in the batch. And your Modge Podge, you're going to do 1/4 cup. So, and we had 66 cents in a batch of our Modge Podge, and it created a 1.25 cups, and you're using 1/4 of that. So, 1/4 of 66, so you're literally down to like, what, 15 cents or so? 15, 16, okay, we'll round up to 17 cents. So you've got 88 and 17, so you've got $105. Then we're going to use our cornstarch. So again, we pull out our baby wipes, wipe our cup out. So with using our cornstarch, we're going to use 1 cup. And This is 16 ounces for 68 cents. So using the cup, you're going to use basically about half of it. So you're talking 34 cents on top of there. So you're talking $1.39 to make your batch of texture paste. Seriously, guys, what's it cost if you buy it? Come on, you guys know as much as I do. It's extremely, it's not super expensive, but you know. And I'm going to mix a half cup at first. If you've never worked with cornstarch before and you don't know how it works, when it turns into cement, do not be surprised. That is just a phase that it goes through. This doesn't do quite as bad because it doesn't have the water in it. So, you know, I actually use half a cup at a time instead of a quarter, but I never use more than a half cup at a time when I'm using cornstarch because it just thickens quite a bit. And again, you know, I will tell you, just like I do in every other DIY, you customize this to what you like. Some people like a really creamy, tacky texture paste. Other people like it a little bit thick. So it literally just depends on how you want it or how you like it. So, I mean, like, that's a little too runny for me still. So just sort of mix it up. And again, you know, you can use talc. You can use cornstarch. You can use plaster Paris. You know, there's quite a few. So I'm going to add another quarter of a cup, which will bring us up to 3/4 of a cup, because I just like to play with and it's starting to thicken up some. So, you know, and you'll find, you know, if you're using store-bought Modge Podge and, you know, store-bought Gesso and you make it homemade, you're going to play with it because it will change its consistency. And if it thickens up too much for you, add some more glue. Or add some more Gesso, not glue. Like, see, that thickened up way too thick, way too fast for me. So, I'm going to pull out my Gesso. And, you know, this is part of DIY, is you just have to sort of play with it till you figure out, you know, where you want it to be. And, you know, sometimes I'll do it and I like the way it is. The next time, you know, I want to change it up. I am going to change up into my spoon because it's a little stronger as far as... And this makes white. Now, in a minute, I'll show you how to do the color. And you'll see it thins it right back out. You just have to stir it up a little more. It's really hard to do on camera. Let me stand up. Sometimes it's easier to do. Stand up. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more Gesso. So I may be revising. Because last time I made it, I used store-bought. So you see the difference between the store-bought and then there is a slight difference because the ingredients react differently. Okay, so I like that, works really good for me. So if you want, if you know, what you can do is you can either strengthen it up and, you know, do it, or when you're making it, instead of doing the full cup, stick with 3/4 of a cup, because it seemed like at 3/4 of a cup it was doing really good. Okay, so my test, let me get my knife, and then I just get a scrap of paper of some sort. Let me see, make sure you guys can see that, and then I'll just scoop up some. I don't need that much, and I'll just see how white. Yeah, see, that's how I like it. That's almost perfect. Smooth it out really good. Perfect. And I always keep a wet wash rag around. It's an old, you can tell I've bleached it and cleaned it 100 times. So, excuse me. There, if you can see, there's the side. Try to angle it so you can see how it works. So I will put the recipe in the bottom. So now let me put most of this in the jar, because I don't want to use all of it. I want to store most of it. So and just put it in your jar. I'm gonna leave a small bit in here because I'm gonna do some coloring. Ah, don't try this at home, guys. Okay. And you can see it's pretty thick, but it's not so thick you can't smooth it out really good. Okay, so that's good. Let me put the lid on it and set it over to the side. Clean that up in a little bit. Okay, so scrape down the sides here and get most of it together. Okay, now I'm going to color mine, and I'm going to use a reinker. I'm going to happen to use Melon Mambo by Stampin' Up! Today, because I want some sort of pink. If I can get it open, there we go. And, you know, I start with 5 drops, work my way up from there. So 1, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I think I actually dropped 6. Apparently we're doing 6 today. And again, the coloring, you just play with it till you get it figured out. Until, you know, you get the color you want. Start little, add more, because you can always add more. You can't take it away once it's in there. You know, and once you've done it a couple times, you'll know color-wise. Like, I was really looking for a pink, so I'm quite happy with the pink that I'm getting. and then just working around in there. Sorry if I'm blocking you guys. Let me stand up again. A little easier. Standing up. I'm going to move to my rubber spatula so I can scrape the sides down. Because, you know, if you're doing this, the last thing you want to do is waste a bunch. You'll see the more you mix it, the lighter it gets. So it's starting to tone down some because of the white. And if you overcolor, say you're, you know, I always make sure I have white handy. So if I'm mixing and it's too dark and I want to lighten it down some, then I've got extra white I can add. I never use all of my white to color without making a new batch, so I have backup in case I have to add color to it, or add white to it to lighten it up. Okay. Looks great. And then I store mine in these, like I think I showed you before, the little mason jars. And you'll see that's still, oh, there's some white in there. Let me, and if you happen to pull your stuff out and you notice it's got a little streak of white in it, sometimes you will. I mean, none of us are perfect, and you know, every once in a while we don't get things in there all the way. You can, like, say, like right in there, you can sort of mix it as you go, right, like right in there, or I can always come back and mix it. And I'm just going to scrape this off because I can clean it when we get done, but I actually like it in the little containers. I don't use as much to fill my little containers, so I don't feel like I'm wasting space. Plus, they're easier to store. They don't use as much, and you know, you may not need a certain color. You may only need it for one project. So, by doing a small bottle, it makes it more manageable. So you're not using as much. Scrape on the outside edge and put this in there. And I just put all that in there because scrape it down in there. I just take my, sort of wipe the outside edges and it cleans right up. And make sure the rings are clean and around the top is clean, because I don't want it to harden or, you know, get gunky. Put my lid on it. Now what you can do with your Gesso and your Modge Podge and all those, you can actually put a sticker on it that puts a date about when you made it. So like this pink, again, was the Melon Mambo. I used 6 drops, so you can play around with it. Then when I need it, I just pop the lid off, push my knife in it, and pull out how much ever I need. So I have pink to add to my collection, and I can just slowly add individual little jars till, you know, you have a nice little collection of different colors. So again, I will put the recipe in the description box below. I will link the Modge Podge and the Gesso recipes. Again, remember, you know, sort of play with it. I will list it at the 3/4 of a cup because I think it did a lot better with the homemade Gesso. So if you know, remember, if you need it thicker, add more cornstarch. If you need it thinner, add a little bit more Gesso. Just play with it till you find the consistency that you like. So you guys have a great day, and we'll see you later. Bye.